Welcome to another edition of the Pearl Polto Show. This is Pearl Polto, and I hope everybody out there had a great, wonderful Christmas. You know, I feel like I'm on the radio with these earphones and all, but that'll change in the next couple of weeks. As you know, these shows are live, and anything can happen, and this is the great part, anything can happen. But before we start the show, I want to thank a few people in my life. I always try to put humor into these shows, and you have to. But one is my brother Robert. He had the countdown to let me know, to let everybody know on Facebook that my birthday, when my birthday was coming up. And on Facebook, that was one. Number two, Josie Breton. She let me know that today was my birthday, and if it wasn't for these two, I would have missed my birthday. So, the news update. Rob, it's 121 days to your birthday. Josie, it's 201 days to your birthday. So, as they did to me, I will do for them, and I will remind everybody when their birthday is coming up, and I will tell them when the day of their birthday. So, the other news I want to thank, everybody out there had their dinner, their Christmas dinner, and I want to thank one person out there in particular. He was an 18-year-old. I think he was 18, or his girlfriend was 16. I don't know, but anyway, we had our family dinner. And we showed up, and my sister did the cooking. But I have to thank this Mike. And this guy, Mike, was sitting beside me with this girl beside him. I think his name was Mike. I'm not sure. But anyway, he thanked my sister, and he said, I really want to thank you for this dinner. And I looked at him, and I said, who are you? What are you doing at our family dinner? And I'm not even sure his name is Mike. So, you know, I wanted to ask this person, because what I did have his phone. And when I had his phone, I thought, you know what? I want to see what this guy's name really was. Now, this is going to be a live show. This is live. And we're going to see something here. Let's see if he answers. If not, you know, it's a live show.
Hello?
Is this Mike?
Hello?
Mike, is this your real name?
No, my name is Colin, bro.
Okay. Now, I got to ask you a question. Did you know the family that you were eating dinner with?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, I hope next year you find another family to eat dinner with, because I didn't know you. You are...
I hope I find one too. At least I'll have a dinner to eat at.
I had a great time with you. Now, what? Your name is not Mike?
No, it's Colin.
It's Colum. Okay. And you were with your mother, and you were with your girlfriend who's 16, correct? Well, you know what? It was a great meeting you, and it was a great holiday, and I'm glad I made your day.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I'm on the show right now. I'm watching right now.
Oh, my God. Well, if you're watching, then I'm going to be cursing, so I'm going to hang up. All right. Now, okay. Then we're going to start the show tonight, and I'll tell you why we're going to start it without everything else with the holidays. And that's because my guest, she has a cold, and she's still coming on, you know, and she still wants to say what she has to say. But let me tell you a little bit about her before. She's from Austria, now, people. She's also the daughter of an ambassador of the United Nations members, and she first came to the United States in 1953. She attended high school in Switzerland and got the BA in philosophy and graduated studies at Harvard. And she's known not just nationwide, she's known worldwide. And it got to the point from 1983, she had her own TV show and a radio program. And she did it all. And I never understood the differences between horoscopes and astrology, where I like to ask her, first I like to welcome Julianne to the show. I've known this woman for 20-some years. And I still don't have her name right. Welcome to the Pearl Polto Show.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. I don't recognize who you just introduced because it's wrong.
Okay, well, I did that on purpose just to see if you were paying attention.
I'm paying attention, but I'm not from Austria.
Where are you? Where?
I'm from Australia.
I was
I did.
I was close.
I got a BA from Harvard. I got my BA from Western College in Oxford, Ohio, but I did do graduate studies at Harvard. And
You know what? This was not planned, people. I have the wrong notes in front of me.
I can't wait till you say my name because it'll be
No,
wrong.
I'm afraid to. I'm actually afraid to. Now, her name is, I have it written down with pronunciation and all. Julie Ann. Julie Ann. Am I correct?
N. You
All
got
right.
it right.
Now, I'm going to say I've known this woman for 20-some years. And I still don't know her name.
I'm never going to believe you know me.
No, well, the thing is, okay, you know what?
Austrian with a degree from Harvard.
I hope you're feeling good, too. Hey, was this in the stars or what? Is it, you know, let me tell the people, though. Let me tell the people. She was supposed to come on last week. And because of the stars and the sun, as she's going to explain to you, she didn't want to come on because a lot of people go by their lives and what they do and signing contracts by the stars. Why is that? Why is that, Julia?
Well, it depends. A lot of them do it because they don't really know what they're doing, and they look at the daily horoscopes in the papers and the magazines, but that's nonsense because it says this is what's happening for Taurus today. And obviously no two Tauruses on this planet are going to have the same day. But then there are a few people, like some of the clients I've had for a long, long, long time, who understand how what I do and what some other astrologers do does have an impact on their lives. It does indicate what the cycles are in people's lives. I think that we should teach this in second class, second grade. Everybody should learn astrology then so that they understand that life is made up of cycles. We look outside and we see the sun cycle. We know about that. It's what gives us our seasons and everything. We know the lunar cycle, which is sort of loosely tied to our periods and oceanographic events like things happening to crabs and everything. But those are not the only cycles. There are cycles connected to Neptune, Uranus, Pluto, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. All of these cycles impinge on our lives. Now, I purposely didn't say affect because we don't know exactly why it works. Hopefully one day some astrophysicist will work everything out and we'll find out what the connections are, what it is that makes it work. But we don't know yet. All we know is that it does. That when we see certain planetary positions and certain planetary cycles at work, we know that certain things within certain parameters are going to happen. Now that doesn't mean that everything that I predict is precisely going to happen down to the detail. It's not like that. It's like a cycle. For instance, if I predict that it's going to rain, which I normally don't do, but let's say I do, that doesn't mean that you have to go outside and sit in a puddle and catch pneumonia. The whole point of knowing that it's going to rain is so that you can manage your life in such a way that you don't catch pneumonia outside. And I've got pneumonia right now, I think. But you can make choices. You can decide, well, I want to stay inside where it's warm and dry. Or I have to go out, but I'll take my umbrella and my raincoat. Or you can say, I'm going to plant my little seedlings tonight so that when the rain comes, my plants can use the rain to grow. Now, in looking at a person's chart, that's the astrological chart, what you call the horoscope, I can see what the person is most likely to do. There are some who are not going to listen to anything and they're just going to go outside and get drowned in the rain. And there are others who are very cautious and they'll probably stay inside where it's warm and dry. And there are others who are doers. They've got to do something and use things. They're very entrepreneurial and energetic, and they're going to go out and plant their gardens. And of course there are many other things you can do with this energy as well. So you have to know what the cycle is, what the planet is that is at play, so that you can see what the person is most likely to do, what the person could do that would be a most positive pattern pattern in that person's life. So I'm just talking a lot. Do you want to interrupt?
Well, no, it's interesting what you're saying, but I had one question as you're saying this, because last week, you were supposed to come on last week, and you said no because of what was going on. So since it was planned, and you can see things, as you said, about the rain and the umbrella, why couldn't you come on last week? If you did come on, what would have happened?
Well, let's have a look. I've forgotten why I didn't. 2012, 19 hours. Okay, let's have a look. Okay,
I mean, what's the difference from one week to another? Any person's life, not just yours. What's the difference between your life and my life? I can't do something on a Monday, and I have to wait till a Friday to do it.
well, because there are different cycles at work and different things affecting me individually or you individually as well. Now, was last week the 19th? Was that the date?
Yes.
Gosh, I don't know why I didn't want to do it. Well, Mars was hitting me. I didn't like that very much. And
Okay, now stop. Mars was,
Yeah.
you didn't like that very much. Why not? The average person doesn't know this. So you're saying
That's right.
don't sign contracts, don't go to shows, don't
No.
do this?
No. That wasn't about contracts. You wanted me to do this show. And with Mars there, I would have been rather stressed. I would have not been, I would
Or
have...
had a cold?
Yeah. Yeah, and Saturn was opposite my Jupiter, which can be rather limiting as well.
What is the difference between a horoscope? I mean, horoscopes is astrology. Am I correct?
A horoscope is the astrological chart. It looks like a pizza with 12 slices.
Right.
The word horoscope means hour pointer. And it's based on the moment of your birth. This is why we need to know the time of your birth. There's no one in the world the same as you. And what makes you unique
What about twins? What about twins?
They're not born at the same time.
Okay.
If they're conjoined twins, maybe, but still one comes out of the womb a little ahead of the other, but they're pretty close. That's hard to...
So you can tell, I mean, if I give you my birth, my time, everything about me, you can actually tell my whole life or most of it?
No. That's not what prediction is like. There's a principle in prediction that says that you need to know what's happening at A before you can tell everything about B. And you can't tell everything anyway, because we all have a degree of free will. Now, I don't have the free will to turn into a giraffe tomorrow. There are certain limits on our free will. But within the parameters of, for instance, the weather, we do have choices. But if we don't know the choices, then we're just buffeted. We're buffeted by fate, whatever you want to call it. We don't know what's happening to us. And this can be disastrous for people. I think about one person, who's a teenager. He was like 14, 15. He was having a terrible time in school. And he ended up dropping out. Everybody was furious with him. Why wasn't he studying better? Why wasn't he concentrating better? And he was going through a Saturn cycle. He was feeling very overburdened. He was feeling depressed. He was going through a hard time, but nobody knew that. So he ended up dropping out of high school. And I think of someone else. When I was a teacher, there was a student there that they were going to kick out because he was mucking up. He wasn't getting to class on time and wasn't handing in all of his homework and everything. So the principal of the school asked me to look at his chart, his horoscope. And I did. And what I saw that he was that he was very bright and he was bored to tears. So instead of kicking him out, I suggested that he be more challenged, that he be allowed to do some independent work, etc. And that's what he did. And he ended up the next year being a finalist or a participant in the, the annual science project, whatever it is, for high school kids in the United States. And he was fine. He went through the year and he graduated.
But isn't that common sense? You just gave him good advice?
No, because they just thought he was lazy. I looked at him and he was an Aquarian. Aquarians are very, they have a curious and restless. They don't like to be told what to do. And that's what he was doing. He just didn't want to, he didn't want to abide by the rules.
Does a person live by their sign? I'm a Capricorn. I'm a workaholic.
Yeah, okay, but you're not just a Capricorn. You have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. You have every sign in your chart. You have every planet in your chart. It's just as we all have noses and toes and hair and eyes and teeth. We have everything, but your combination of all of those physical and psychological attributes is different from mine. And the chart is a completely unique arrangement of all of these planets and signs.
So if two people meet and two people has two different signs, could they get married or not married or whatever, be compatible because of each different sign, or could it be a chaos because they're the wrong signs for each other? Is that how it could work as well?
No, it's much sorry, it's much more complicated than that. It's not just you're an Aquarian and I'm a Scorpio. It's not like that. You have to look at all of the other planets and all of the other signs. You look, for instance, at their moons to see whether they're emotionally compatible. Their Mercuries to see whether they're mentally compatible. Mars and Venus, the connections between Mars and Venus show whether they're sexually compatible. And this is really very superficial because there are many different ways of combining the planets to create avenues of compatibility. And of course, nobody's completely compatible. There are always problems, and those problems are where love, whatever love may be, said Prince Charles in his romantic way. That's where love comes in. You're never going to find anybody who's perfect, but that's where love comes in. Where they're not perfect, this is where you have to work on the relationship and where you forgive and you understand and you compromise, etc. But there has to be enough there to make it a growing relationship, a relationship where you feed each other, you enjoy each other, And I can tell, just looking at charts usually, when people are going to be utterly miserable, so it's very, very complicated.
What is the difference between an astrologist and a psychic? Or are they both the same?
Okay, astrologer, not astrologist. I've told you this for 25 years. It's astrologer.
Just testing.
Yeah, okay. A psychic doesn't know where the planets are or anything else. I don't know what a psychic is. Maybe a psychic is someone who's very intuitive and sees things or hears things. I don't know. Maybe they're crazy. Maybe they have tremendous insight into who knows what. But an astrologer works like any scientist. There are basic parameters, basic, quotes, rules that you have to follow. If you want to look at somebody's energy patterns, you look at their Mars and other things as well. Whereas I don't know what a psychic looks at. But to be an astrologer, you have to study. There's a tremendous amount of study that goes into it. You can't go take a 3-month course and say, I'm an astrologer. There are a lot of people who say, well, astrologers just read the body signs and all of that sort of thing. Well, as you know, I've never met you, so I haven't been able to read your body language at all.
No one can. No one can. When we come back, I'm going to take a little break, Julie. When we come back, I want you to tell the people what you see for the presidency, what you've been seeing with this violence, the gun issues. When we come back, hang in there, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a look at the world itself and their astrologists. Let's see what happens.
Astrologer.
There's nothing more disruptive and annoying than getting an automated call to your cell phone. There are laws against companies using computers or recorded messages to call you on your cell phone without your permission. This is consumer protection attorney Carrie Flitter. You've heard me as a guest on the Polto show. There are consumer laws in place that prohibit many of the unwanted calls to your cell phone. If you're receiving unwanted or unauthorized calls, whether collection, selling products or services, or otherwise, you may be entitled to have these calls stopped, and to collect money damages that the law provides. If you're getting unwanted or pre-recorded calls to your cell phone, contact us, the Consumer Protection Lawyers at Flitter Lorenz, at 888-668-1225. That's 888-668-1225, or online at consumerslaw.com. That's consumers with an S, consumerslaw.com. If we accept your case, the bad guys pay our bill.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Pearl Polto Show. We have a great show today because you're going to learn the differences between a psychic, an astrologer, and my guest today is Julianne. I've known her for a long time. We've never met, but the thing is, she knows her stuff. She knows her business. And not only she knows her business, but there's a couple questions that disturbs me with the world. And anybody that's in her position that learns and understands about the whole world, she's sitting back and she's seeing what's going on. I wonder, which I'm going to be asking these questions, we had an election coming up, and could you foresee that future, who was going to win?
Well, it's not easy, and you can't be absolutely sure. You know, it's like a doctor. You know, often when we have problems, we go to a second doctor for a second opinion because there's so much information, and it's so complicated. And to look at a presidential election, you have to look at all of the candidates. You have to look at their families. You have to look at what's coming up in the country, the country's chart. The country has a horoscope. There are just so many factors that have to be taken into account. But as you might remember, Pearl, that in 2000, I told you on your show before the election then, that the night of the election, that it would be a mess, that we wouldn't know by the end of the night who really had won it. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You were on my radio show then.
That's right. That's 3 months before. Yeah. And also years ago on my radio show at WJFF in Jeffersonville, New York, I predicted, and that was all taped, that Clinton would beat Bush the first. Now, this time it was very difficult, and most astrologers had a very hard time with it. Mercury was retrograde on the day of the election, or it went retrograde. And when a planet goes retrograde, it means that it appears to be going backwards. It doesn't really. But you know how if you're in a train and another train goes past you for a minute, you're disoriented and you're not sure what's going in which direction? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. That's what happens when a planet goes retrograde. Well, it usually means Mercury is going retrograde. Mercury is communication. It also has a lot to do with elections, voting, all of that kind of thing. And everybody at the time was saying, oh, it's so close, it's so close, it's so close. And very few people were saying that Obama would win. Some were, but most were saying that what's his name? The other guy? Who was the other guy?
Who was the other guy? Romney.
That Romney would win. So what I said very briefly, well, I wrote out some long things, but what I finally said after looking at it all was, what if Mercury retrograde means that it's not what we all expect at all? What if what happens is that Obama runs away with it? Well, in effect, that's what he did, didn't he? I think he had one of the 3 highest differences between the loser and the winner. I don't know whether that was on the popular vote or what it was, but he did, in effect, run away with it, which shocked just about everybody.
Oh, so what you're saying is, according to the stars and the moon, he shouldn't have gotten elected.
That who shouldn't have got it?
He shouldn't have gotten elected. Is that what you're saying, because of the Mercury?
No, I said that Obama should.
Oh, he should win. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Because the popular opinion was that Romney would win, and that all of the polls were so close, and that Romney would probably win.
Did you study both their charts?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you did. When you studied both, yeah. Now, who would you expect to be the best president at that time?
Oh, there's no question, Obama. Now, I have reservations about Obama, which I had from the first election, because everybody said that he was the peaceful president. But I knew that he wasn't going to stop the war at that time in Afghanistan because he had very warlike indications in his chart, which really distressed me. I also didn't feel that he was ready to be president. I still don't think that he was. I think probably it should have been Clinton this time and then Obama next time because he didn't have the experience. But what I saw in the chart was all of this anger and stress, and everybody kept saying he was so easygoing, but I didn't see it that way at all. I saw him being angry, and it was sort of passive aggression, holding in lots of things. But like when he said to Hillary, "Oh, you're nice enough, Hillary." He was holding in a lot of anger. Now, the one thing is that now most of that angry stuff has passed, so he's not going to be as warlike now, but it hasn't quite passed enough yet. Now, when George Bush was elected, that just panicked me because I looked at that and I thought, no, this man gets in, he's going to get us into war as quickly as he can, and he's going to keep us there as long as he can. Both he and Cheney, was Cheney his vice president?
Yes.
Yeah. Both, their charts were full of rage, war, anger, hostility. And I thought, geez, we're in such trouble. Why can't anybody see this? And a lot of other astrologers were very angry at me for saying, no, we shouldn't elect this man. We're going to go straight into war. And the other thing is that not only Mars, which is the planet of war, not only Mars was hitting Bush, but so was Neptune. And Neptune is the planet of illusion, delusion, confusion, deception. So what did Bush do? He just tricked everybody. Everybody just sort of went into a coma and said, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Julian, I want you to stop for a second. I want you to... I always say this is a live show. You never know what to expect. I'm going to have you continue, but we have the credit dog in the room, and he's snoring over the microphone. Julian, you just put him to sleep.
Who did I put to sleep?
You put the dog to sleep. He's snoring. He's snoring.
Well, animals like me.
I know, I see it. You just relaxed them with it. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Now, let me ask you a question. Hillary Clinton, I wanted her to become president the first time. You think she'll ever run?
Hillary, well, I just actually wrote a big piece on that. I think the only reason she won't, if she doesn't, and I'm doing it very early. I wrote this piece before I know who she'd be running against. And there are a lot of things I don't know about. I don't know if Bill will still be alive. I don't even know if she will be. I don't know how their health will be. So what I wrote was, if their health is still good, from what I see at the moment, she probably would run, and probably run twice. The second time, I went ahead, through the next 12 years and looked at that. But you see, the problem with Hillary is that she also is so warlike, But if we knew this, we could look at our candidates before they take office and decide, do we want someone coming into office who's angry and warlike? What do we want? Do we want someone who's going to take care of children? Do we want and old people and jobs and all of that? Or do we want to continue with more wars? So you can take a look at the candidates ahead of time and see what they're likely to do. But George Bush, there was no way he was going to do anything honest. And at the same time, Tony Blair also had Neptune hitting him. Neptune, illusion, delusion, confusion. And Blair and Bush,
does anybody have the perfect...
Fooled everybody, but
let me ask you something. Does anybody... There's a lot of financial situations and problem in this country right now with Elizabeth Warren, the credit cards, the extortions, everything, the banks, the mortgages. Can this be foreseen? Can this change? Is it going to change as far as the United States horoscope? Or are we going to stay in this position and be stuck for many more years?
Well, as I wrote in my blog over the last years before 2008, this is the time when Pluto is in Capricorn for about 17, 18 years.
You told me that. That's
Pluto
my
is
sign.
the planet of transformation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Transformation
Yes.
is that good things will happen, correct?
You're a bit staticky. I
Okay.
can't hear everything.
Transportation means in other words, good things would happen.
Well, not everybody thinks they're good things.
Okay.
It's a time when everything that is rotten gets torn apart slowly. But it's in the nature of Capricorn. A Capricorn is big business, and Pluto is banks. It's the plutocrat. It's banks. It's credit cards. It's all of these people who've been. It's Lidor in Europe. That's been fixing all of the rates all over the world. All of this is what has to be transformed at the moment, and also work. Capricorn is a sign of work. So we have to change the way people work. I've been saying for years, I read an article the other day that said the same thing, that there's no reason people need to be working 7 days a week. We shouldn't be. Most people's lives are controlled by the boss and by their work. What do? We fill our calendar, we put in our work. And if we want to take care of the kids, if we want to make love, if we want to go to the dentist, we have to find a way to squish it around the work. Where we live depends on our boss, how much he pays us. She pays us. They're mostly males still, aren't they? Sorry. We're pretty much at the mercy of that boss. If we want to take a vacation, it depends on when the boss says we can take a vacation. All of this has to change so that there is more of a balance between personal life, private life, creative life. Whether you're a scientist or a mother or a sports person or a business owner, you have to have a balance of some kind in your life. You have to be able to do a lot of other things, and that's what's happening now. The plutocrats are being driven out. They don't necessarily know it yet, but Elizabeth Warren was just elected, freaked everybody out. She was elected in Massachusetts, and she's going to be on, what's it called, the Finance Committee.
And she's a plus for the people, I believe. I mean,
Totally, total plus.
Yeah.
Total plus. If she knew more about foreign affairs, I would see her as a good president. But I think she belongs where she is. You don't want her rising above her expertise, and her expertise is absolutely the financial world. So she, I think, is going to be an enormous voice in changing the way we work, the way we're paid, our banking system, credit cards, all of this. What I think is really funny is that Pluto is the planet of the plutocrat, of all of this transformation. What did they do to Pluto just before all of this hit? They demoted it. Pluto's not a planet. Pluto's no big deal. Well, Pluto came roaring back and wiped everybody out. Wiped out everything to do with the jobs. Nobody's got a job. Pluto came in and did exactly what Pluto's job is. It's a planet. It's having an enormous effect on all of this at the world. But this goes on for another 10 years or so.
10 years or so.
Yes. So we have 10 more years where we will be really working on how we arrange the banking system, credit cards, what people have paid, taxes, everything to do with our money, and the work that we do to get the money.
Now, let me ask you something. I deal with, as you know, credit cards and the people's money and everything else. So I'm most likely a part of all this.
Yes, you are, and you are a Capricorn. So Pluto is sooner or later going to get to you. Actually, it's got there already. Yeah, it's already been working on you for the last few years. That's part of what's made the change for you in your work. Yeah.
So it's all up to the people. Now, what about all this violence that's going on in this country? Is this by the signs, or is this by the people, or is this because it's happening because of the stars?
Okay, well, I never call it the stars, but I'll let you do that. Okay. The United States is a very violent country. Countries have charts, or horoscopes, as you'd call them. And the United States has Mars rising, which means it was on the eastern horizon when the country was formed. they're very angry people, and they want guns, and they want, they they admire the macho, what's his name? The cowboy, you know, the Wild West, all of that sort of thing. It's a very angry country. Now, what's interesting is that Mars, the planet of male, it represents males and anger and war and blood and guts and cutting and swords, and it was the old war planet. Mars has just gone retrograde in the United States chart, which means, I remember I said before that I hate to call it energies, but whatever, we'll call it energies for the heck of it. The Martian energies in the United States chart are now going backwards, which means if we try to go to war, we're not going to do very well. I think that's one of the good effects of what George Bush did. Twice burned, whatever it is. We're not going to get people to go with us as much now as they did. And nor are the American people going to want all these wars going on again either. So we're going to find ourselves frustrated if we try to go into Iran, if we try to go in almost anywhere. We're going to have to fall back on, diplomacy and other ways of working out problems. The United States can't keep saying, hey, we're number one and we're in charge of, hundreds of military outposts all over the world, and we go to war and get everybody to come with us. You can't do that anymore. And people's consciousnesses have grown beyond that. People don't want this anymore.
Now, wait a minute. You came over. Now, you were from Sydney, Australia, correct? What was the difference, and why did you want to come to the United States and not stay over there?
I didn't want to. I was just a little kid. But my father was in the United Nations, and the United Nations brought him over to the United States. And then my parents brought us all over here. I didn't want to be over here.
Okay, the next question is, then why didn't you just go back?
Well, did I leave my parents and my brothers behind? Will I leave my kids and my husband as I later built a life? You can't just, I've been to about 80 countries all over the world, but you can't just pick up and dump everybody along the way, Yeah. Whether I like it or not, I have a life here. So I go back to Australia to visit when I can. It's a hard place to visit, though. It's very expensive to get there. And
I remember one sentence that you said to me one time, and you said to me, I'm not going to mention the president or whatever, but you said, if this president gets elected in, I'm moving back. Remember that?
Sure do.
So that had to be for a reason from the charts, and so which means he would have been a dangerous president to the United States. Am I correct?
Yeah, that was Romney.
Okay. Okay, you said it, I didn't. But anyway.
Yeah, no, because I think Romney would have, he would have probably sent us all off somewhere else anyway. I think he would have been a disaster for this country.
Because he had money? Because he had money, or he was rich, or?
No, because he was completely oblivious to other human beings. Very, very angry man. That's part of why he was so quiet all the time. He didn't dare really say what he was thinking, but if you look at his body language, apart from the astrology, his body language was never authentic. He had this stupid laugh that didn't connect properly. He sang and he couldn't sing properly, but he had no idea he couldn't sing.
So he wasn't being for real, he was putting an act on. A lot of people didn't see through him, but you did.
But I think it was more than an act. I think it's sort of who he is, and I don't think he's a purple people. Yeah, I don't think he's a people person. I think, look at his 47%. And look at all of his money in the Cayman Islands and Europe and all over the place.
Do you see? I mean, you've seen the incident that happened with Connecticut, the violence and the crooks and the transportation and the crisis and the gun issues.
Yes. This is part of that Mars going retrograde.
Okay. I was told one time when Mars goes in retrograde not to sign any contracts. Is that true or false?
Well, it depends. But let me tell you about the guns in Connecticut first. Guns are part of the war. I can't remember the one. But it's part of this whole thing to do with Mars. And what's happening now? Everybody thinks, oh, well, it'll all fade away in a few weeks. I don't think so, because now that Mars is retrograde, we're going to get rid of the guns. We also, believe it or not, have fewer families now owning guns. We have more guns, I think, because the people who own guns are being sold more by the NRA. Is it the NRA? But it's fewer families with more guns. But I think we're fed up. I think that this Connecticut Sandy Hook school, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. Notice the Sandy hurricane also on Long Island. All the Sandys out there. I think this is like the final blow. Everybody says, why is this any different from anything else? It's like, I think, the final, no more, can't stand anymore, this is it. And we're going to start getting rid of them all. And people say, well, we'll just get rid of a few. Why? Why can't we do what Australia did and what Britain did? Get rid of the lot. We don't need them. Guns are to kill, whatever it is that we want to kill.
So this is, now let me ask you something crazy. Go ahead. Let me ask you then, where does God fit in this? Does God have anything to do with these charts or whatever, in your eyes?
God, G-O-D?
God, G-O-D.
I really don't want to go there.
Okay.
Because we all have different personal beliefs.
Okay, yeah, there's different religions and different... so what you're saying is that with astrology, there's different beliefs, different versions, different religions, and maybe this is why we're having all this crisis, because everybody has a different thought. I remember, Julian, I remember being in New York and being in Berkeley's publishing company, and Ronald Reagan's wife, she didn't make a move. She didn't make a move without an astrologist right there. She wouldn't even sign a contract. And when I was there, she actually said, I'm postponing my contract to the following week, and she didn't want to sign it. They all were confused, and so was I watching her, even though I met her. But why would she not want to sign this contract of the publisher of her own book on that date, because she said she wasn't allowed to?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to know what that day was and take a look at it. But Nancy Reagan took all the flack for the astrology, but Ronald Reagan had been into astrology years before. They were both into it. And yes, he called up that astrologer before. He talked to, what was his name from Russia? Well, the leader of Russia, I can't remember his name at the moment. But he called and spoke to her supposedly about that. And she told him what approach to take, what would go best. And you see, Ronald Reagan sort of had a Teflon time in office, didn't he? Sometimes astrologers give advice to people they shouldn't maybe give advice to. I also wrote an article at the time before Reagan took office. And I sent it to the New York Times because I could see already there the signs of Alzheimer's. And he took office at a time when a lot of people historically had come into office with really big reality issues, shall we say. I can't remember who they were now, but back, over the centuries. You can go back and look at all of these cycles repeating through thousands of years. I wrote an article at one point about Pluto going through Sagittarius for 2,000 years. So I went back and looked at what happened with Reagan, and of course everybody poo-pooed that as well. But, Reagan was a little bit goofy. It was, of course, the Republicans nowadays, who are a little bit goofy, are still praising Reagan like crazy for, doing some really wrong things to our country.
Well, just as Nancy Reagan didn't want to sign that contract, and you're the specialist out there, is that what you do when you have to sign contracts?
Oh yes, I have clients who come to me to get contracts signed. I have one, for instance, who came to, I think it was early on in our relationship. She came to me and she said, I have to buy this property this October, something like that. And I said, no, it's just not a good time. And it wasn't a good time until the following September, and she just thought it was a lot of nonsense. But guess what? Everything went wrong, 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 wrong until the following September. Then it all fell into place and she was able to buy it. So now, usually when she buys a property, she owns like half of New York City. Well, that's an exaggeration, but she comes to me to get the charts. And I look at the charts also of her corporations and buildings she owns to see what's happening in those as well as her family. See, most of the people who come to me come for two reasons. One is business. When should I start a business? Why am I making no money? What should I do? Should I change careers? What should I do? And then the other is family and, relationships. To do with love affairs and partnership and children.
Can you tell if a couple should stay together or leave? Or, I mean, is that possible?
I would never make that decision for anybody, what
Right.
I could do. But what I can do is see what the problems are, and sometimes it just looks like a nightmare. And I will go as far as they ask me to go in telling them what I think. Because sometimes it looks really dangerous, some people just shouldn't be in the relationships they're in. But they're stuck for one reason or another, a lot of it because they think they should stay. But I would never make that decision for anybody. It's like going to the doctor. The doctor may suggest this course of healing, this one, they give you choices. But then it's up to the patient to decide which one he or she wants to pursue. So I tell them what I see, and some people get pretty irritated with me.
Well, I'm sure they would. If they were working, let's say, a 9-to-5 job and they want to go into a business, would you say to them, no, this is not your business? Or do you actually tell them that by saying you should change your field and not work a 9-to-5 job?
Well, I don't quite put it that way. I often suggest that they take a career aptitude test to see what some of the things they would be good at are. But I also can see whether it is a good time for them to change careers. I can see and I can also see what they would probably be best doing. So I can give them all of that sort of advice. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about where you've been.
I couldn't hear what you said. Say
Tell
that
us a
again.
little bit where you have been. Like
Where
where you have been in different states, different countries.
Oh, well, I was born in Australia. I lived in the United States a long time. I went to school in Switzerland. I lived in Switzerland later. I was the first the first woman invited to lecture in India on astrology. Where have I been? Canada, New Zealand. Took my kids with me a lot, too. Took my kids to Russia while I lectured there. I've been to every South and Central American country. Australia, New Zealand, Tahiti, Africa. I've been to, where have I been? I've just gone blank.
Well, how did I meet you?
It'll come back to me.
How did I meet you?
To a few
Julian, how did I meet you?
Oh, gosh. I have no memory.
Either do I. Either do I. I just can't remember back that far, how I met you, but it had to be something. But it's interesting because I had you on my radio show, and I remember that.
Yes, I've been on your show a few times.
And
go ahead. I don't remember.
I know. I mean, I'm trying to think back myself, and it's interesting how things work, though. Let me ask you something, because I know you have a cold and everything else, and it's I'm not sure what the weather is there, but if somebody wanted their chart, how do you explain to people if somebody wanted their chart done? Let's say somebody wants to open up a business, and they want to contact you. How do you go about it? How can they reach you to say, this is what I want done?
Well, they can find me in the phone book in Staraka. They can find me on Facebook under my name, Julianne Millette.
Okay, I will give them the last name on that. But just Facebook? Suppose they weren't on Facebook. How would they locate you? Through me?
Yeah, they can through you, I guess. Yeah. You know, the other day somebody told me they'd found out all of this information about me online, and I just went to see the other day what you can find about people.
Hmm.
You can find out everything.
Yeah, of course.
It's amazing.
Of
It's
course.
just disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, you can find out everything about anybody, but this is the world it's leading to. This is what, that's what I don't understand about the stars, the moon. I mean, we're going into a direction where, everybody's free for all. The guns, everything is free for all today. So we can do what we want. There's scam artists out there. There's scam artists in other countries too. So we have to learn what to do with our own life with it. Julian, if somebody wants to have their chart read, then they can go through me?
Yes, I can go through you. Hmm. Yes, I don't know any other way to do it without giving you my last name, which you don't want to do, and I'm not crazy about it either.
Okay, how can they contact, how can they contact, you don't give out a phone number or your email. Can they send you an email?
Yes.
Okay.
Julienne, Julienne, at N for nothing, E for elephant, P for pumpkin, dot, N for nothing, E for elephant, T for Thomas.
And that's going to be on our website too, where they can contact you as well. Okay. Anybody wants to email you with the charts. I had many charts done through her, and I go by it as well because I see what's going on with people. But Julian, I want to thank you. I know you were sick, and I know you came on this show, and I know it's snowing up there. I'm not sure, is it snowing there yet?
Well, yes, we've got several inches. We're getting 15 inches, and
Oh
the
my
temperature is down under 20. It's about 15 now. It's really bad and windy. It's beautiful, though.
Unbelievable. I want to thank you. Thank you for coming on to my show.
Thank you.
And you'll be able to watch it as well. You'll be able to watch it starting tomorrow. You'll be able to watch your own show.
Oh, lovely.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
maybe.
And I will be talking to you a little bit later, but I want to thank you.
Yeah, lovely to talk to you, and happy Boxing Day, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Happy New
everybody.
Year to you.
Okay.
People, that was Julian Millette. She's if you're going to have your charts done, there's many people out there that does charts, and there's many people out there that claims to do charts, just like there's psychics and those who claim to do psychics. And I asked her about where does God come into this picture because, she didn't want to talk about that because, to me, God is the universe, and the universe is the sun, the moon, the stars, and everything else. So he has a lot to do with it as well. But sometimes people doesn't like to get into that. That's their own business as well. We have a new year coming up. And what I'm hearing from her, I'm not sure if I like it because they said the next 10 years. So if you're not in business, if you are in business, I believe, this is what I believe. I believe if you want something bad enough, it'll happen. If you want to make something happen between the stars and the moons, you can make it happen. And sometimes, like with this Nancy Reagan, when I seen her in my publishers, she didn't want to sign the contract. What would have happened if she signed the contract? What would have happened? She had a bestseller anyway. So what would have happened just in case? You would not have had a bestseller. So, but a lot of people believe in that because of, we say 90% of our body is water. And if 90% of our body is water, then we have the sun, the moon, and everything coming into us. That's why when we hear people going crazy, we say, oh, it had to be a full moon. How many relate to that? And it was a full moon. So we know the old expression had to be a full moon. There's a movie out there called The Other Planet. I think people should watch that. I watched it, and it was called The Other Earth. And there's an Earth somewhere in the universe. And everyone goes by their chart. Now, me personally, I believe in horoscopes. I wasn't sure of astrology. I'm still not sure because I don't understand it, and you may understand it or not. But I'm the kind of person as I didn't understand it. I know there was a moon, and I know there's a sun sign in everybody's structure. And my moon, naturally, is in Capricorn. That's the workaholic. That's the diplomat. That's the everything was to do with work, work, work. But I also have a sun moon. And so you may have a sun sign, you have a moon sign, and then you put it together. Do I believe that? Of course I believe that because your horoscopes judge how you react. And you could be talking to me, and I would say after an hour, this is what sign you are, just by the way you're talking. So people live by the way they project. And it's interesting because this could be your work. This could be your future. This could be your husband, your wife. And sometimes, as she said, even when in relationships, there's many relationships that aren't getting along today. And they're saying, well, make it work. Well, sometimes you can't make it work because it's on a different level and it's never going to work. So you have to switch it a little bit to make things work, as she puts it, to work harder at it if you want to. Just like your position and your job. If you don't want to work hard at your job, you're not going to. You're either going to quit or get fired. Or you're going to say, this is not for me. I've done it all. And yet, yes, I have exceptions to the rule, but I still can do it all. And you could do it all. So if you're sitting back, a truck driver once said to me one time, I'm afraid to open up my own business because I have to support my wife and kids. And I said to him, if you stay as a truck driver for the rest of your life, you're going to be stagnant. And you will never know how far that business could have came. So you have nothing to lose but to go do this business, say it like it is, do unto others, and if it's going to work, it's going to happen. Why will you settle for less? As you hear with the world coming through, why would you as a person settle for less? Maybe it's our horoscope. Maybe we have to settle for less because this is who we are. I don't think so. I wasn't, taught that way when it comes to this. As I said, this is a live show. We have a lot of good shows coming up. Next week we have Burl Walk on next week. This is the master of the marketing. You don't want to miss his show. We have some great shows coming up. Come February, I have a surprise guest coming on the show, and I'm not going to let you know until that time comes, but we have a lot of good shows coming on in January. We also have some disc jockeys coming on, believe it or not, and we have some singers coming on. Do you know the Soul Survivor? Well, guess what? He's going to be on here too in 2 weeks. So we have a lot of good shows, and we got Bunny. She's going to come back on. You're not going to believe this show. I always say this show is going to say it like it is, but now we're going to do it like it is. And I said, what do I want to do? I love dancing. I love music. But we're going to be dancing right here. Yeah, you heard me. We're going to teach you how to do the Bristol Stop. Duh. And I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Those of you that had a sad Christmas, horrible Christmas, well, there's always tomorrow. Wake up. There's always tomorrow. And we have a new year. Sit down and make a list of what you want done in 2013. Make a list. And accomplish this list. Say to yourself, this is my goal. And these are the people that I have to contact to make my goal. Because if you don't, you're going to stay stagnant and stay where you're at. And if you do, you have nothing to lose. We're going to be dead and gone one day. So you can say to anybody, hey, at least I did it. I tried it. It didn't work, but I did my darndest to make it happen. And this is what this show is all about. I'm going to make this my darndest to make it happen, that this is the top show in the world by the time we're done, the Pearl Polto Show. And I want to thank everybody. Hope you all had a Merry Christmas. But next week, the new year, and I'm going to start this new year helping you with your credit problems, helping you with your consumer problems. And the world is not going to end. The world is not going to end. We proved that last week. And I said, am I the only one alive? But the world is not going to end. People out there have a very, very happy new year. I hope you enjoyed the show today. I hope you understood it. And next week, we got a lot of great shows coming up for 2013. This is Pearl Polto, as always, making the most of your credit, giving credit where credit's due. Today, it's to the universe. The moon's watching us. Where is the moon? See you next week.
Interest